Okay, so we're now streaming live, and I'd like to say good afternoon to everybody. It's amazing how quickly this time comes around every single week. And I'm Aurora Dawn Campbell, your host for these 30-minute sessions. Really, they're just an eavesdrop into a conversation between two coaches and or mentors or training providers about the world of coaching and accreditation. So I'm joined by Stephen Elliker. So hello, Stephen.
Hello.
Good afternoon. How are you today?
I'm very well, thank you. Missing the
And
sunshine
how's
today.
the weather?
It's a bit rainy today, but nice and warm.
Warm rain.
Yeah.
Well, that helps. And I thought the UK had a bit of a heat wave at the moment.
Yes, so I'm told. Although because I live, more towards the north of England, my daughter who lives in London was telling me yes, it was super hot down there.
Yes. Yeah. And as you said, you live in the north of England, and as we were just discussing offline, we think there's quite a bit of Viking in your history with a name like Elliker. I don't
Yes,
know if
indeed.
I'm even pronouncing it correctly, am I?
Yes, you are. I get lots of pronunciations, but you got the right one.
Good, 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 good. Okay, so let me just set the scene for you. These 30-minute sessions are basically for anybody who's wandered across us on social media. That could be Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, even TikTok now. And they're thinking about hiring or working in some way, personally and professionally, with a coach, and wonder how they go about it. So anybody listening, Stephen is ideally placed to support you with that. And I'll tell you a bit more about Stephen in a moment. Or maybe you're a corporate person thinking about adding coaching to your skill set. And actually, Stephen's ideally placed to help you with that, because even though he's a VIP, he added coaching to his skill set fairly recently, and I'm sure has got lots of ways to demonstrate how it has benefited his life, his communication, and his business. So it's never too late to add a coaching qualification to your skill set, because when you do, it's all about communication. The quality of your life improves. Maybe you're somebody who's been a coach like me for a long time and thinks, well, this is an unregulated market. Why would I bother becoming accredited? What's it all about? How is it going to make a difference to my business? We can answer your questions on that. And then I think the final one is you may be a training provider or a university or even a corporate in-house program thinking, well, how would accreditation help me stand out in what has become a very noisy digital space? Particularly when students are always looking for the best course to train. So they're looking for all the accreditations and the reviews, the league tables, etc. Who should I train with? Where should I invest my money? So that tends to be our audience, Stephen. We don't get a lot of questions, but Gillian, my VA, as I just reached for my phone, is on social media, and she will forward any questions to us.
Okay.
So just by way of a brief introduction, Stephen is in his 70s. He certainly doesn't look it. So it's probably because you don't get very much sun up there in the north of England. You have a cat, so you're a cat man, and you see clients face to face as well as on Zoom. And you're a therapist, a transitional coach and therapist and a counselor. And you've recently, as I say, added life coaching to your skill set. And you trained with the lovely Carol Ann Rice at Pure Coaching Academy, one of the pioneers in Britain. So if we start with a good transpersonal coaching question outside of work, what fills your heart with joy, Stephen, I wonder?
Oh, outside of work. Well, I write quite a bit, and I do all the usual things of somebody my age, gardening. But my real passion is with my model railway, which is up in my loft, and it's just something that's left over from my favorite Christmas present of all time as a kid. I was given a small train set, and I loved it. And so now, as a grown up, I can have a model railway of any size in my loft and spend hours enjoying building it, developing it.
Wow. And you're in good company, because I think Rod Stewart's got a big one as well.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's got a whole room dedicated to a railway.
Yeah.
So it's a popular passion, actually, isn't it? What does it
Well, it
do
is.
for you?
Oh, I love the construction side of it.
Hmm.
I just love adding new tracks or dismantling tracks and rebuilding them, putting them in a new direction. I'm not so good on the scenery side of things. I mean, I do the trees and the grass and all the
Yeah.
rest of it. Um, but what I really like is the construction side of it, and also the technical side of rewiring and wiring stuff, because it's all quite digital nowadays. So it's
Yeah.
not quite as simple as it used to be.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. So perhaps in a former life, you were an engineer of some sort.
Well, maybe. You never know.
Mm. Okay. And I'm always interested when I find out people's hobbies. How does that sort of creativity um, translate to your business as a therapist and a coach, either in language terms or some other way? So, as an example, David, who you know, is keen
Yes.
on photography, and the language that he uses is about focusing the picture and things like that. And then I spoke to somebody who was a musician, and he was very much like how does it sound and how does it play out in your head, and it just struck me that our hobbies and the language that we use does translate into our coaching business as well.
Yeah. Yes, and certainly does for me. Um, I trained as a transactional analysis psychotherapist, and that is very structured in the way that we actually undertake our psychotherapy with clients. And I've sort of transported some of that into my life coaching business as well. I'm very structured in the way I take clients through a process of change. So I think it's the structural side of things that I've taken into my work.
Yes, yeah, okay. And how has adding life coaching qualification helped you as a transactional therapist, do you think?
Well, as a psychotherapist, I think I spend a lot of time with clients looking at their history, looking at their past and how it impacted on their development. And I suppose I got to a stage where sometimes I found clients were sort of spending too much time in their past history rather than moving forward.
Mm.
So coming out of COVID, when I decided actually I didn't want to retire after all, I would quite like to continue in the world of therapy. Life coaching dropped in my lap somehow, I can't remember, but I decided to train in that. It was going to be easier than getting my CPT credits on psychotherapy. And so I trained in that, and it was life-changing for me, because now that although we know about how important our history is, I was able to go from a place of where I am now, take my clients from where they are now to where they want to be. And
Yeah.
I found that life-changing.
Yeah. Oh, it's interesting that you say that, because that's been my experience when I've been supporting therapists. They often say, I wish I'd come to coaching first, because I'd have had a deeper understanding about definitions, language, terminology, and how to get the client from A to B quicker.
Yes, indeed. Indeed. I did find that, some clients could stay stuck in some degree of victimhood, frankly,
Yeah.
staying in their past rather than starting from where they are now and moving forward.
Mm. Interestingly, when I come across student coaches, it's one of their biggest fears that they will cross the boundaries from coaching into therapy. Even if they're not therapists, they just know that there is this boundary. And of course, your contract that you have with your clients will be, you can wear all these different hats, makes it so much easier for you. But why do you think it is that most coaches, because you will obviously had lots of student peers on your group at Pure Coaching, was that a fear that came up with them?
Yes, it
These
was.
boundaries?
Yeah, I think people were concerned about that. And it sometimes represented some kind of block to their progress. I mean, I'm fortunate as much because of my training, I can class myself as some kind of hybrid coach. And although I can be going through a life coaching process with a client, it's okay to recontract and actually look at the therapeutic side for a few weeks before returning back to the life coaching.
Yes. Yeah, interesting. Okay. And you see clients face to face as well as on Zoom, so they come to your house or
Yeah.
a clinic?
Yes, I prefer face to face. I mean, I guess that was what I was used to in the psychotherapy world
Yeah.
anyway. But yes, I much prefer that. There's a lot to be gained from face-to-face work. And that's why some of my marketing is more about going down to a local cafe or the local market and putting up my flyer, because I'll get local clients that way rather than social media, which is more about Zoom clients.
Yeah, it's interesting because as an expat, I've had to rely on Zoom.
Mm.
And so when I've been supporting students, they've like, I can't possibly go online and do it. I won't be able to see them. I will miss lots of nuances. And yet, once they've tried it, they say, well, actually, it opens up a whole new world of deeper listening and less distraction. So there's pros and cons to both, isn't there?
Yes, yes. I guess instead of making an assumption about somebody's body language, you can go into some self-inquiry about that. You know, what is going on for them, how are they feeling?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And of course, you know, little things like, I wonder why they're tapping their foot. I wonder why they're sat in forward, or you just lose all of that and just get into the moment. So I'm a big fan of Zoom. I was on Zoom for many years before COVID. But of course now everybody is a proponent of Zoom through necessity as much as anything. But yeah, I very, very rarely see anybody face to face now. But what do you prefer?
I prefer face-to-face, I have to say. But then, you know, the Zoom market opens up a much bigger market for us to gain clients, which is, you know, equally important.
Yeah, definitely. And it gets rid of, you know, things like, well, if you've got a cold or they've got a cold, or time for logistics with travel, it means that you can be in your PJs underneath the desk and nobody would notice or care. You can be much more relaxed. So I think there's a lot to be said for it, but people are gradually drifting back to the old ways, the offices. And although I did read a statistic with companies saying that they actually thought in COVID, their employees were 23% more productive because they didn't know when they were going to get a Zoom call from the manager. So they were at their desk like from 8 in the morning till 6 at night. And people and of course they didn't have coffee machines to chat around. So people just worked harder and for longer, which is not necessarily a good thing at all. Having had a much needed 4-day break, I totally get the fact we need to have breaks. So your specialism is around life transition, isn't it?
That's right.
Which covers what sort of issues, Stephen, typically?
Well, at first glance, it does seem like a sort of fairly focused niche, but actually it covers quite a broad area. So people can be in transition in their career, retirement, in relationships, you know, going through a divorce or a separation. But I mainly focus on people in the sort of 40 plus age group that are in some kind of life transition, largely because I guess, you know, I've been there myself. So I'm equipped not only with the training, but also the life experience.
Yeah. And there's something else to be said for working with a more mature generation. I mean, goodness, you know, I'm in my 60s, so calling a 40-year-old mature, you know, they're still so young. But, you know, you want to, when you're setting up a business, some of the things that you need to think about as a new coach is, you know, can these people afford me? So it's not always a good idea to be thinking, well, I'm going to be a teen coach or a career coach for the 18 to 24s or whatever. So there's lots of different things to consider when you're setting up your business. And it's not only what you like, what your experience is, but, you know, who can afford me? Because we can't do this for free.
But also, in addition to that, I found that trying to find my niche, trying to find the sort of client I wanted to work with was part of my development as well, because I was understanding myself in the same way as to why is it I particularly want to work with that particular sector of the community. So it was quite helpful for me to go through that process of establishing what kind of client do I actually want.
Yes. And I think sometimes our clients almost create the niche for us when we look back and think, well, over the last 6 months, which are the clients that have come to me? What are their topics? Sometimes that's very revealing as well.
Yeah, yes, absolutely. Looking back on clients, you can think there's a trend here. They seem to be getting this type
as we said earlier, your vibe attracts your tribe. So, you know, what you put out there in the universe is what you're going to get back.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's your take on retirement? You said you weren't ready to retire. You went on an intensive training course, added something to your existing skill set.
Yes.
What is the future holding for you, Stephen?
Well, I'm passionate about my work, so age doesn't come into it. As long as I have my health and take that time out in order to take care of myself, which I'm telling my clients as well as myself, then I continue to satisfy that passion by working and learning. We never stop. Well, I certainly never stop learning. I'm always looking for the next opportunity. What can I learn? What can I develop?
Yeah, I think this is fairly typical of coaches and probably therapists as well, is that you are on a lifelong journey. You don't stop the learning. We're perpetual students. One thing leads to another. I know lots of people who say I'm on a course for such and such, and I've already got my next course planned.
Yeah.
So that's quite normal. But what is this thing called retirement anyway? Retiring from what exactly?
Well, for me, it was retiring from being a workaholic. That was in my 40s. That's why I got into counseling and therapy in the first place, that I found out that I was actually, working so hard that, my family life was suffering as a result. So yes, now I'm able to do it at my own pace and in my own way. And that's as far as retirement goes for me.
Yeah,
I don't
I
need
think
to
it's the
stop
same
doing what
for
I'm
me,
passionate.
actually. Leaving the corporate world and becoming your own boss, working your
Yes.
own hours and having that sense of freedom. That's what a lot of us want.
And my self-development is a lifelong journey as well. There's never a day goes by when I'm not, journaling for at least half an hour a day. Something I recommend to my clients, I do myself, because I just find it very developmental for me to go forward in my self-awareness by journaling.
Yeah, that's very, very powerful. I've probably journaled and kept a diary since I was 10 at boarding school, very influenced by Anne Frank. I got my first 5-year diary with a little lock on it, and I've kept it up ever since. But I can spend hours, with all my different journals, like my gratitude journal, my goals journal, my diary. It sometimes feel like a bit of a chore at the end of the day when I'm also writing during the day a book or a blog or something. But
Yeah.
it is well worth doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And also as part of the way that we promote ourselves, to create blogs, as you say, and articles, that's all part of the developmental process as well. And I love doing that. I love writing, and I love getting in front of the camera and doing a YouTube video on a particular topic that happens to be interesting me that week.
Wow. Most people are terrified of doing that, Stephen.
Yeah, I do understand that, but I would just add to that I'm somebody who although I have done public speaking, I'm not a fan. I don't enjoy it, and there seems to be this sort of contradiction that when I go on camera, I love doing that. I don't mind being seen, but putting me in front of a live audience, suddenly the whole anxiety levels change.
Yeah. Oh, that is really interesting. Oh, well, perhaps you're going to have to do a masterclass for the fellow IAPC&M members on the benefits of doing it and how you do it and technology, etc. They'd love to know more about that, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, I love doing that. Passionate about it.
Because video is king on social media. So it is, this is why reels are so popular. They've kind of taken over from memes and things like that. So to put out a short video on a regular basis is probably one of the best things that you can do as a calling card.
Yes, absolutely. And it also satisfies another area of my development. I mean, I grew up not being seen and heard. So, I come from that cultural age where children should be seen and not heard. So it's so positive in that way that actually I can get seen and heard by doing these videos, as well as, doing my own self-development work at the same time.
Yeah, definitely. Well, seeing as you've just mentioned that, I think anybody who's listening to this and wants to know about more about Stephen, go on to our blog site. There's a great blog. I can't remember what it was called, My Accreditation Journey, something like that. But if you put Stephen's name in, it will come up. It was probably the most honest, vulnerable insight into your journey around education, being assessed, and then at your age, bear in mind it's totally voluntary for you to put your head above the parapet and say, I want to be assessed as a best-in-class practitioner coach.
Yes.
It was really very heartfelt and made me feel quite sad, and it touched my heart.
Oh, thank you. Yes. And it felt important to do that. I think part of my recent development is, well, what I described as coming out, being me, being my authentic self. So
Yes.
why not say how it was and how it is? Very important for me.
Yeah. And increasingly, I am coming across people who are celebrating imperfection and talking about the fact that there is no such thing. And I think to some extent, COVID and us all working on Zoom has helped get rid of this perception of, everybody's perfect. Knowing that a child can walk around the back of your desk, or a cat can cross on your laptop, and I think we've relaxed this perfectionism
Yes.
quite a lot since COVID. What's your take on that?
Yes, I agree, and it breaks down that power dynamic that can exist, especially in the client's eyes, that that we're better than them in some way. We've all got a lot to. We're all on that journey. It just so happens that this is a particular area that I can help you with, because I've been there and done that and have the training to support it. So, yeah, it's important to recognize we're not perfect. We're still here to do the job for our clients. And accreditation for me has been very important as well in terms of enabling to develop trust for my prospective clients, that they know that I've gone through that process.
Yes. Yeah, that's a really good point. I was just going to say something about the perfectionism. It's gone, but there you go. It's live. Who cares? We don't have to do a perfect first take anymore. And I presume that's the same when you're doing your videos. You just roll with it.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, sometimes I do an extra take if it goes horribly wrong, but mostly, nice, as you say, if there's the odd hiccup, just makes it real.
Yes. Yeah. And I think people like that. It was probably the best piece of advice Jennifer Britton gave me about 3 or 4 years ago at International Coaching Week, when I was the host. And I did the whole week, 4 a day for the whole week. And it was very, very exciting, very high energy, but also tiring. And she said to me, look, if the internet collapses, nobody's going to die. You just log back in, and we've all had to sit here and wait. So what? And that really did take a huge amount of the pressure off me. So let me just check if Gillian has sent us any questions. Nope, nothing yet. So we may or may not hear from her. So tell us a little bit about your cat. What breed is your cat? What's the name, and where did it come from?
Oh, well, my cat is he must be 9 years old now. He's a British Blue.
Oh, so lovely.
He's got that grumpy face look, but he's not really, he just looks grumpy. His name's Bob, and he lives with me. We both live together in this house, lovely house that I live in. And so he's a man of routine. He likes his routine, so he'll be asleep just now. Otherwise, I'd bring him on camera. I was hoping
you would have put in an appearance, as I was saying about cats wandering across laptops. I thought that just had a bushy tail.
Well, if it had been another hour from now, probably he would have been thinking, I think I'm a bit hungry. I'll just get up and wander through and see what Steve's doing.
Okay, very good. My friend bought me a book, a street cat named Bob, and it's on Kindle, and I've completely forgotten to read it. But apparently it was a very famous cat in London with a cafe, raised a lot of money, but I think it then became a scandal, so we'll say no more.
Oh dear.
Do you remember that, a street cat named Bob?
I wonder if they made a film about it as well.
Did they? Ah, okay.
Hollywood version.
Yeah. Well, cats are still the #1 pet of choice.
Right.
Dogs being twice. And, I don't know how many likes or clicks that you get for your videos, but if you've got the cat in them, you will get probably 3 times the amount, because we've noticed when we post on social media, we might get half a dozen likes. When we put a cat or a funny meme or something, it goes into the hundreds,
Yes.
because that's what people like. That's what they engage with. So did you say his name was Bob?
Bob, that's right.
Yeah, I think you've got to, make Bob your co-partner in these.
Yeah. Earlier this year, I was approached to do some more training on becoming a dating coach. And I'm one of those people who, if a door presents itself, I like to walk through it and, you never know, see what happens. So I did a 6-week training program on becoming a dating coach. But part of the training was I had to go on a dating site, which isn't something I was doing, but I thought, okay, well, we'll do that. And as obviously, so I can have the whole experience of what it's like to be on a dating site. But anyway, the point of the story being that whenever I did actually get somebody contacting me, wanting to meet up, it was usually because they liked the cat in my photograph.
Oh, lovely. Oh, that's great.
So I think you've hit on something there. Maybe my video should include Bob.
I think so. Be a partnership. Because if you think about it, the amount of therapy animals that are out there now, so you've got your clients coming to your home office, quite a lot of them will want Bob, just and he can sit and be stroked, and it calms them down, very much like our breathing techniques in meditation. So yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I hadn't really thought of that, but you're right. However, having said that, often the first thing I say to a client coming to my home is, "Are you allergic to cats?"
Yes, of course.
Just in case.
Just in case. Well, those that aren't, Bob can come in. He may even be tax deductible. You might be able to say, well, he's my business partner. He shares my office and he eats this much. And you might be able to offset it against your tax. I don't know, but
well, that's a stretch, but
yeah, he'd be a great business partner. I had a dog as a sleeping partner for 15 years. Sadly, no more. So I'm enjoying my freedom, actually. I mean, we've had dogs for 25 years, and it didn't stop us doing anything. You just had to think things through a little bit more. Like the last couple of days, we've been away in the motorhome, and I was thinking, thank goodness we didn't have a dog, because it was so hot. Where would we have gone for the shade? And as good as they were, and gradually we ended up from 5 to 1, and now none. I'm suddenly thinking, wow, I didn't realize what a tie having a pet was, really, because we had a pet since our son was a teenager. And then they leave you, don't they? And you're left with the pets, and then you get another pet and so on. But now we're young, free and single. We can do whatever we like whenever we want without thinking about the welfare of pets. But
I can relate to that. My son lives in San Francisco, so I go and visit maybe a couple of times a year. And you can't really go there for a few days. It needs to be a long visit. And the only thing I hate is leaving my cat,
Yes. No. Yeah. I mean, it wasn't so bad when we had 2, because they had each other for company. But once we went down to 1, we couldn't leave her, because we just thought we just can't do it. So yeah, it is difficult. It is a tie, unless you've got a great neighbor who's going to step in. Of course, there's this house sitting and dog sitting. So you move out and somebody moves in, and your cat has all the luxury it's used to. So that's not a bad compromise. So Stephen and Bob, what's coming up that people can look forward to? I mean, obviously they can find you on the IAPC&M directory. Where else could people find you if they think, oh, Stephen and Bob are the ones I want to be supported by with my personal and or professional goals? I kind of fit the brief that he's talked about. Where can they find you, and what's coming up?
Well, they can find me by looking at my website, which is stephenellicott.coach. And all my social medias are linked to that very same name, stephenellicott.coach or coaching. And that's Instagram or Facebook. Yeah. And of course, YouTube. Although I don't promote YouTube too much, I just enjoy doing the filming. But it's you to be able to, if there's a particular area, say around confidence, I have a whole series of 6 videos on confidence. It's useful to be able to signpost a client to look at those videos. Yes,
yeah. Well, we will have to do something. I will send an email to Lisa, head of CPD, You'll have seen weekly bulletins from her, and let's get you
Okay.
booked in for a little masterclass tutorial for the members.
Okay.
I would definitely like to learn more about this. Yeah, I look forward to seeing more of you and Bob in the future.
Okay, thank you.
So let me just quickly check my phone in case there's anything from Gillian. Nope, there isn't. So enjoy your train set. And well, on a dull day, you may as well. You can't go out.
Exactly.
So enjoy your train set, and I look forward to speaking to you again. And thank you for sharing with me today. I really appreciate your time, Stephen.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.